Hey guys, Eckhart Slaughter here, and for the first time in a little while, I actually have some Star Wars news to share. And I think Star Wars fans are going to find this pretty exciting, especially you guys who are fans of the Clone Wars era. Star Wars has announced a new Mace Windu comic book series, and along with a really cool picture of the cover, they've released a blurb detailing what the comic is going to be about. And it says, "For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi have been peacekeepers of the galaxy, but now, at the dawn of the Clone Wars, they find themselves a new role, generals in the army of the Republic. As Mace Windu, one of the Jedi's greatest warrior, leads a small unit of Jedi into battle shortly after the war begins, the Jedi must make peace with their new role or be lost in the violence around them." So we get a few things from this blurb, and the first is that it's obviously set during the Clone Wars. Some fans might find this a bit disappointing because they would like to get some Mace Windu backstory, while some other fans will probably be happy that we're going back to this era in galactic history. It also seems like the comic is going to pick up right at the Battle of Geonosis, and I kind of also believe that because the beginning of the article which announced the comic says, "The party's over," Mace Windu said in Attack of the Clones, but for the purple-bladed lightsaber-wielding Jedi, it's actually just the beginning. And of course he says that line in the Geonosis arena, which obviously started off the formal Clone Wars. It also tells us that the comic is going to be examining how Jedi actually deal with being warriors. Rather than just sitting in their ivory towers, Jedi during the Clone Wars were of course going straight into battle. I think this could really be an interesting plotline for a couple of reasons, and first, the idea of being a warrior does seem kind of antithetical to how a Jedi should act. Yoda in Empire Strikes Back says, "A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack." Well, obviously in the Clone Wars, the Jedi were doing more than just being on the defensive at times. I also think Revenge of the Sith touches on a couple of interesting issues which I personally would like to see this comic address. For one, we know the Clone Wars was more or less completely fabricated by Darth Sidious. Now, I would like to see how this fabrication and how this deception influenced and really degraded the Jedi as an institution. Because again, I just mean going back to that Yoda line, the way the Jedi acted during the Clone Wars seemed to be completely out of hand. They were more of a puppet of the Republic and a puppet of an army rather than true peacekeepers. I also think Revenge of the Sith kind of exposed some flaws within the Jedi Order. So, for example, how they treated Anakin and Mace Windu, in particular how he was willing to kill Palpatine rather than take him prisoner and have him stand trial, which would truly be the democratic way. And again, the description put out by StarWars.com says that the Jedi Order will face its greatest challenge yet, and I think that that challenges all those things that I've just mentioned. There was another thing I picked up from reading this press release which I thought was really interesting, and that's the title of the comic. It's Star Wars, Jedi of the Republic, Mace Windu. And Mace Windu kind of seems like a subtitle, and like the main comic book line will be Star Wars, Jedi of the Republic. So I think it's very likely that we see some of our favorite Jedi have their story explored in subsequent comic books, which is nice in my opinion because I think that era does need more canon content. Okay, now so onto the artwork they posted, and there's not really a whole lot to say. It's Mace Windu using a force push against a battalion of battle droids, and it does kind of remind me of the original Clone Wars series where all the Jedi were extraordinarily powerful and they would do things like pushing lines of clones away. We never quite saw that to the same extent in the movies. And I'm just gonna say, if we got a return to Jedi being really overpowered during the Clone Wars, you would not hear me complaining. Anyways guys, let me know what you think. Of course this comic, by the way, is being produced by Marvel, and it's being written by Matt Owens and illustrated by Dennis Cohen. I think Matt is still relatively new to writing for Marvel, and this will certainly be his first Star Wars comic, but I'm interested to see how it turns out. He's also written for the Luke Cage and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV shows. Anyways guys, are you excited for this comic book series, and what do you expect of it? And I've actually got a couple questions of the day today for you guys. So my first is, what battle would you like this comic book series to cover that's either been mentioned in other works, perhaps the Clone Wars, but you feel like hasn't got enough attention? Finally, if you were to choose 3 Jedi for this comic book series to cover, whether obscure or very famous, so I'm talking anywhere from Yaddle to Anakin Skywalker, who would they be? Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and of course, may the Force be with you.